So I spent, probably an hour in this dumpster.
Here's what's coming up on today's episode of the Texas Wedding Show.
Of having to put, Uncle Bob in the cab because he passed out on the curb.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, have that Patron. Take that Uber, though.
Yes.
How?
How?
How? You know?
I'll cut that out.
No comment.
Bubbles. I love the bubbles. I'm sitting there and two trailers pull up. A truck pulling a trailer of the wedding stuff, like the wedding decor, and another truck pulling a trailer for Carnival. The Carnival.
Did you get it, Mr. Miyagi? Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Texas Wedding Podcast. I'm your host, Brittany, with Lady Bird Studios, and today I am here with Alex Goggin of Occasions, Events, and Design.
Yeah, that's right.
Occasions, Events, and Design.
It can be a little bit of a mouthful. Yeah.
Thanks so much for coming on.
Oh my gosh, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah.
This is my first time doing anything like this, so
It's okay.
I'm just hoping I can, help somebody out there who might benefit from some of my really fun stories, but also some really great tips too.
Yeah,
if we
I
can
know
do
they
that.
will.
Yeah.
I know I will.
Yeah.
I mean, when I first started doing this, I hadn't done it before either. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
Okay, we'll learn together.
Yeah, I'm still learning.
I learn everything every day.
Yes, right?
Something new.
Yes, something new every day. So can you tell us a little bit about how you got into the business and just a little bit about your story?
Yeah, so Occasions first started actually as Weddings by Blake. So my business partner, Blake, and his, kind of team at the time were, they started, I think, in 2013. So pre-me, he just kind of fell into it, and he's got this whole spiel about how he fell into it, and really the reality is that weddings are really in his veins, and he'll tell you the same thing. He just loves doing events, and particularly weddings are really important to him. It's just something about that occasion, right? That makes something about making that special and being able to help people really enjoy their time at their wedding and enjoy like getting the most out of the pictures and like the details of it. Even years later, it's just so important to him. And so my story and how I got into that business and started working with Blake is actually the story of two weddings. One of them being mine.
Oh, cool.
And then one of them being my first wedding that I actually ever did with Blake, which was interesting. So I'll start with mine. My wedding, I fell into that classic trap. And you might have brides that who are like this, who are like, okay, this is what I do, right? I'm a project manager. I'm really good at, events. I've already been doing this for my friends.
I don't need it.
I can do it on my own. I want to do it on my own. Like, this is how it's going to be satisfying for me. And what I didn't realize going into it is how easy it can kind of run away from you emotionally, right? Like, you're so invested emotionally in everything, and you should have the chance to enjoy the parts of it that you can enjoy and put your spin on and your take on. But you should also get the chance to like sit back and relax and, have somebody else kind of deal with all the stuff that happens. I mean, so what happened was I had planned this really great wedding. My mom sort of went a little crazy, as mothers sometimes do. And we ended up having about 324 people invited to my wedding. And it was a couple weeks beforehand. And I just remember sitting at my desk at work and being like, oh my gosh, just completely overwhelmed with, okay, now we've got to adjust everything because we've got 20 more people who are showing up. We got to get more tables. We have to get more rentals, everything. I mean, it was just
Chairs, plates, favors,
chargers, candles.
Yes,
I mean, it
seats at the ceremony. Like,
we had already done so much, and really, and it just coming down to the wire, it started to like balloon out and get away from me, and I was like, okay, I'm going to need some help. Like, as much as I really just wanted to feel like I was doing it and doing it well. And I mean, now I do this professionally, right? So I felt like I had a handle on it, but when it is so emotional and it is yours and it starts to get away from you and you don't necessarily have the expertise, this is why I always tell my brides, it's not that you can or can't afford a wedding planner, right, in the budget, you really can't afford to not have one.
Yeah.
It's really important. And so I found myself in that trap, and I was at work, and one of our partners actually at the time was a financial like payment company, and I just happened to be talking with this guy about it and about the wedding, and I was like, man, I just don't know what I'm going to do. I'm just so overwhelmed. I'm going to need to maybe take some time off. Like I was like just underwater, and he was like, you know what, my partner Blake actually, this is what he does. Do you want me to set up something where you guys can meet and talk? And I was like, oh my gosh, now we're just bringing more people into this madness.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, I don't know about that. But okay, like at that point I was at the end of my rope. So I met Blake, and he came in, and I will never be the same again. I will say that. Like, I've never met anybody like Blake. When I say like weddings are in his veins, like in his blood, and runs through him. Like it is so true. He came in and took charge of everything, and I did not have to have that same level of anxiety that I was having going into it those last couple of weeks. It was just honestly, it was amazing. I'm so glad that I made that decision, and I like to tell brides that story who are kind of on the fence, because it's really how I got. I mean, it's how I got into the industry too. Is just seeing how much of an impact that can make. And so Blake came in. He picked up where I left off, which I had gotten everything organized. I knew exactly what needed to be done. Felt like it was all on me, right? Handed it off to him. And that was an amazing wedding. My wedding was awesome. It's like, people still ask me, like, are you going to do a party, like anniversary party, like just do your wedding again so we can all have fun again? And I love that. So that's how I met Blake, and ultimately how I fell in love with weddings was actually my next wedding story. So a couple months later, actually I think it was almost exactly 2 months after my wedding, he calls me, and he's like, hey, I like lost a couple of people who are just not going to be able to come to this wedding tomorrow and help me out. Really need somebody. I really loved what you did with your wedding, and it would be awesome. We were friends at that point. Like we were just like kindred spirits. And so he reached out to me and was like, hey, come and do this wedding with me. And I was like, okay, all right. I mean, it might be too soon, but okay, it'll be fun, right? So,
why not?
Right, why not? Yeah, and I went to this wedding. It was actually at a winery in East Texas, and it was a lot of fun. It was really great, but we did have a couple of things that went wrong.
Oh, goody.
Right? Yeah. So the bride and groom actually, they're winos, and so they had their like ceremony included writing these letters and including their letters and their vows together in this crate with these glasses, special wine glasses, and a bottle of wine.
Cute.
Specifically to open on their 10th anniversary.
Wow.
It's like a long-term thing. It's like an investment bottle of wine and everything.
Yeah.
It's like top notch. So during the ceremony, they lock the box. It's got this special little key. Everything's gorgeous. And so, no problems there. We move into reception, and we had some folks from the venue who were helping us get everything gathered and put, in their appropriate places for taking home, including this wine box. Well, halfway through the night, Blake was starting to load everything up, and we were getting everything ready to go for the bride and groom. And we noticed that the key was mysteriously missing, right? We were like, okay, this is weird. We're looking everywhere for it. He's like, okay, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go help with the reception real quick. I'm going to go talk to the DJ. I'm going to go talk to the photographers, and then I'm going to be back to help you. I'm like, okay, I'm looking everywhere for this key. We're not finding it anywhere. Can't find anything. And they were like, well, we did take a trash bag full of that extra greenery out from the ceremony space to the back dumpster. So it's possible that it could be in there. And Blake and I eyes this big. We were like, I cannot imagine. And so we, last resort, we were like, all right, somebody's got to get in this dumpster. And that person was me.
Yeah, it's like the newbie gets to do it.
Yeah, I was the newbie, but it was also like Blake's like wearing like a, like nice blazer. And
Yeah.
he's like, I'm not going to be able to get in there in my current like outfit.
Right.
He's like,
Gonna rip my pants. And...
Yeah, right. He's going to bust out of this blazer. So I was like, okay, all right, lift me up, man. So I spent, probably an hour in this dumpster. And just looking for this key. This key is like this big, it's one of those little cute wrapped up ones with the heart. But it's easy to miss in a bag full of greenery. So I'm like ripping open like trash bags full of junk just to find, okay, was this in the ceremony space? Okay, then maybe it'll be in here.
Oh my gosh.
Through trash and just like, just covered in just I'm just disgusting at that point, right? We found the key.
In the dumpster?
We found the key in the dumpster. It was down in the dumpster. It was like the last bag.
Oh my gosh.
Full of greenery. There it was, that teeny tiny little key. Oh my gosh. And I'd never been like so satisfied. And
I was about to say.
You're like, man, all these little things, like if it was my wedding and something like that had gone wrong, I would have been freaking out.
Oh my gosh, yes.
They never knew it happened.
Right.
They probably still don't know because this was like 7 years ago, and they probably haven't got that key out yet. I'm
right.
Like, that key smells a little funky. This is probably why, but nobody ever knew anything about it. And I'm just like, man, that could have been a disaster. And somebody from that family might have had to go dumpster diving, or they would have just had to break that box open.
Right.
Ultimately, on their 10th year anniversary, if we hadn't done that, if we hadn't been there and just kind of took it upon ourselves to try to get everything back in its exact right place. And I just kind of fell in love with it at that point. I was like, man, this is really how I would want to do it. I would just want to make it so that you don't have to worry about these things.
Yeah.
I learned way later on, Blake was like, yeah, there was stuff like that happened at your wedding. And we just don't tell you. So you don't have to worry about it. And I'm like, oh man, what a great freaking car. That's what I want to do.
Right.
That's what I want to do. And just kind of fell in love with it. And I'm a kind of a coordinator and a, project manager at heart. Mm-hmm. I think probably a lot of coordinators will say that, right? Yeah. A lot of event planners will tell you that they're kind of cut from the same cloth, right? You're the moms of the group, the ones who want to take care of everybody, just make sure everybody's happy. And and I just fell in love with it. There's nothing more satisfying than making sure everything is in its exact right place to make your occasion beautiful.
Hey, but I gotta ask though, did they know what you did for them?
No.
They didn't know.
No, they still don't know.
Man, you could have got a huge tip.
I think what I got out of that was just this amazing profession, just having the chance to be able to make that impact. You don't get to do that in your job very often, and you don't get to fall in love with something like this very often, but I got to, and I'm really thankful for that. It was really awesome. So just the different experience from being able to have somebody save my day to just even something as little as a tiny key that you have to find in a dumpster, kind of saving the day for somebody else, really pushed me towards just wanting to do this for a living.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being a problem solver behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Nothing like a wedding disaster story to make you fall in love with weddings.
I know. Well, it's funny because I've talked to a handful of other coordinators who are and planners who they have similar stories.
Yeah.
Like, man, my first wedding, everything went wrong.
Right.
And it was awesome.
Right. Yes, that's what I've been hearing.
Yeah. It's a common story. And I think a lot of us like that because it is just the impact that you get to make.
Yeah, because you get to save the day.
Yeah.
And someone's one of their most important days of their life. And you get to save it.
Yeah, we get to save it. But also it's like, at the end of the night, they're going to be married no matter what, right? That's the beauty of it. No matter what goes wrong. And you're just here to manage the chaos.
Yeah.
It's inevitable.
Right.
You're here to manage the chaos when things inevitably do go wrong and make it as easy for them as possible to enjoy their time together as a couple and their time with their family too, which is really important.
Yeah.
That's why you do these big events.
Right.
So that those people can come together and celebrate you and your love.
Exactly.
And I think that's amazing.
I do too. That's awesome. flash forward like 10 years later and they ended up losing the key
Yeah,
themselves.
dude. Yeah, I mean, if they had to go dumpster diving at some point in time afterwards, I would be like, oh yeah, I feel you. I really do. I mean, I've been there.
I can't imagine the relief you felt when you found that.
Yeah, in a few years we can get together and share stories. And
Yeah.
we, like open the box and enjoy that time, and then I'll be like, okay. So you tell them after the fact.
Yeah, right.
Way after the fact.
Right, yes.
Not immediately afterwards, but it's been awesome to kind of help save the day a couple of times.
Yeah, that's so cool. Do you have a like background? So what did you do before wedding planning?
So yeah, great story. So, well, not really that great. So I worked in event coordination, actually marketing coordination. So for a law firm that did financial and estate planning. So my first sort of like events that I ever coordinated were like seminars for large groups of people, where the company would have people come in and we would do a lunch or a nice dinner or something, and you would learn about financial planning and estate planning. And that was my first kind of big girl job, if you will. And I really did like that, but it was kind of like, it just wasn't as satisfying really yet to me. I was like, okay, what else is out there? So I actually started working for a bridal show company. So then the events that I did after that were bridal show, like trade shows, like bridal shows. And that was a lot of fun. But again, it was like, okay, yeah, this is great. I feel like I'm getting a feel for how to do the event side of it, but I am not a sales type person.
Me
like
either.
I'm just not like.
Yeah.
That's not my jam. I would rather somebody come to me because they just really need my help than me go to somebody and say, hey, you really need this.
Right.
You should come and be in
Right.
our event. Right. And they do, right. That's an aspect of that part of the job, which is okay. But I was like, okay, there's more out there. There's more out there. And so I was working for that company as I was starting to plan my wedding. And I kind of had two jobs at that time. I was doing that, and I also was an operations manager for a technology company. This is where I was like, I've always had multiple jobs. And I was kind of like, okay, I'm starting to plan my wedding. This is fun. But it's a little bit complicated, right? It's like started to get emotional and stressful for me. So I came really ultimately from a coordination and operations background. And the first wedding I ever planned was my own. And there's a couple of different aspects of wedding, of the event of a wedding. There's the design of it, which is like all the way that it looks. There's the, planning, which is ultimately the logistical planning ahead of time, and then there's the actual event coordination itself, right? Making sure all your vendors are coordinated and that you have the right things in the right places, everything is physically where it needs to be. And so that was really, my wedding was my first time doing any of the design and planning, and I didn't do a single thing on coordination because Blake took all of that over. My first time coordinating was actually that wedding where I was in a dumpster for about an hour and a half. Like, it was just one of those things. And I've loved it ever since. Really, the coordination side of it has been the biggest piece of it for me that you fall in love with, because that's where you make the most, immediate impact. It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like, you just get to see like this is one of the most important days of somebody's life. So you get to be there when they have that. And that was really the missing piece of it for me.
Yeah.
That I hadn't gone from my corporate background was this kind of, when you do social events and you do, especially weddings, the significance of it.
Right.
It's just so awesome.
Yeah.
And satisfying.
Yeah. It's important to feel like what you're doing is making a difference. So not only love what you do, but you feel like, it matters.
Yeah.
And you're helping others.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And now you're doing weddings in, you said Santa Fe and
all over
Oklahoma.
Yeah. We'll go all over the place. We specialize really in the Texas area. Just anywhere in Texas we'll go. We are headquartered here in the DFW area. So we do a ton in DFW, and we know a lot of the venues here and a lot of the vendors here, but we'll go anywhere because really the idea is that we want to make anybody's day special.
Yeah.
So for example, this wedding that I'm doing in Santa Fe, New Mexico, the bride is originally from the DFW area.
Oh, okay.
So there's like a lot of family here, and they have a lot of people that can like bring stuff from the DFW area to the
Nice.
Santa Fe wedding. So I'm like, oh, great, because I've got some really great relationships with vendors here that we can make work
Yes.
and get you basically to the right budget. Like,
Yeah.
it's so important. You don't even think about it, but when you're envisioning like your dream,
Yeah.
you don't think about budget initially, and then you kind of hit that wall, right? Of how can we make this actually really happen? That's a tragedy, right?
It is.
It's so hard to, for me to see a bride and groom for that matter, and mother of the bride for that matter, to like have this dream, have this vision, and not necessarily think that they can achieve it.
Right.
That's a tragedy. We'll get you there.
Do you have any tips for couples or brides or mothers of the brides that are planning a wedding and don't necessarily have the biggest budget?
Yeah.
Do you have any tips for what to do with that budget and how to, get their vision to life?
Yeah. And I said before, it's like, it's not whether or not you've got a coordinator built into the budget. You really just can't afford to not have one. That's really intentional. I think for most of our weddings, our smaller budget weddings, we pay for ourselves, even if all we do for you is a timeline and coordinate the vendor list and make sure that we're asking the right questions. There are things that you just don't necessarily know. So my biggest tip, which is also a plug for myself, but I mean, my biggest tip, because I've been through it, I've been there, is that the people who do this for a living, they are experts in what they do. You got to find the right fit.
Yeah.
You got to find somebody who's going to work with you with your budget. That's another thing that I love about our company, is that we'll work with any budget and just say, okay, what could you do? Now, this is how we can make the most impact with that. But then another thing is, when you are able to spend the money to do it like a planning package versus just a day of, that's really, really impactful. That's where we can actually save the most money for people, because your vendors have really great connections with each other, especially wedding planners who work with like their set of vendors, and then they've got this outer circle of vendors that they know that they can pull from, that they can get you what you're going for, without necessarily spending all the money for the ideal thing that you originally wanted, right? Maybe we're going with a different vendor for this thing. Maybe it looks a little bit different, but it gets you the same effect. The lasting effect that you'll remember in your mind. That's really important. And another thing is, like, for me, if you got something in your head that you really love, this vision that you've always wanted, let's pick a couple of things from that vision and let's spend some money there, right? Like, let's be okay with spending some money there, and let's let the other things on the periphery sort of fall away. Let's build our budget around a couple of staples that we know are important to you, that are going to make the biggest impact to you on your day, because ultimately what you see and feel on that day is important. The pictures are important. The videography is important. Like, what you go back to see, it's like it's not just you either, right? Your kids are going to see this stuff, your family members. So the things that you go back and see, as much as
people who couldn't be there,
right? People who couldn't be there. I mean, it's important. So let's build a couple of things in that we know you really, really want, that can make the biggest emotional impact to you,
right?
And then let's work with our variables on the outside of that. That's the biggest thing.
So do you think it's different for each couple, or do you think, in your opinion, are there a few things that you would say, cut this?
Well, that's why I say, like, build it around what you want. Some couples are like major foodies, right? We're going to build everything around that meal. That's what we're going to do. And the cake, we're going to build everything around that, right? Some couples are like, you know what, they're artists. My artist, she's really wants to have like live art experience at her wedding, and that's really cool too. Okay, so let's build it around that. If you want live music, If that's your
Yeah.
thing, like, hey, when we first went out together, we saw this band, we've got to have this band.
Right.
Like, it's definitely unique to the couple. And that's actually what I love seeing these days in our trends is that we're kind of throwing out the rule book.
Yes.
I love that.
I love it too.
I love that we're doing that because it gives
It excites me.
Yes, it gives us this freedom
Yeah.
to really be like, okay, I want this thing, and let's throw out party favors. Let's throw out, the traditional cloth napkins.
Yes.
Let's throw out some of that, like, high-end catering stuff that people are doing so that we can get live entertainment or get a live art experience or something that's really unique to that couple that is very much their personality. We want to tailor it to that couple. It has everything to do with the couple.
Yes.
There are a few things where you just, here and there, like, okay, we can save some money on invitations, for example. We can save some money on linens.
Yeah.
You really can. Rentals. Yeah, you can save a lot of money on what you put on the tables. I mean, there's just little things like that where you can start to kind of trim the fat a little bit. But let's build around the biggest staples that's really going to make the biggest impact to that couple and their personality. Yeah.
We recently did a wedding in downtown Austin, and it was, I had a great day. Like, I really did. And because I was talking to the bride at the beginning of the day, we were taking an elevator down somewhere, and she was just like, honestly, like, I agreed to do this because he actually wanted to do it. Like, I wanted to marry him, but the whole like big wedding. And so I agreed to do it. And I said, but if we're going to do it, we're going to do it my way. And like, we're going to do, not being selfish in a selfish way. Like, we're going to do it non-traditionally.
Yeah.
We're going to do, and they totally did.
Their personality.
It was so fun. They had these like pedicabs take us from the ceremony to the reception area.
That's so cool.
And after the ceremony with their bridal party, they like right next to the church, we all went and got bubble tea. And
that's cool.
Yeah, and then they just like sat around chatting and having bubble tea with their bridal party. And then at the reception, they planned a bunch of their friends, probably like 30 of their friends, come into Chris Brown's Forever, like from The Office.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
big Office fan.
They had a bunch of like voodoo donuts instead of a cake, and they had the bride was Filipino, I think, and so they had like this really great Filipino bread, which like tied in their culture, and it was
that is awesome.
And they just had so many cool things I'd never seen before, and it just made it so much fun. They had little like so they had at every place setting at the table, they had little bottles of Patron, like mini bottles.
So cute. I love those.
That was so cute. And then on top of that, tied to each mini Patron bottle was a little note with a QR code that said, be safe tonight, take an Uber on us. So the guests, if they were drinking, they could scan the QR code and get a free Uber ride.
I love that.
Isn't that so cool?
Yes, I love that. I love that idea. Anything that we can do to make people safe.
Yes.
I mean, we've all heard the horror stories of having to put, Uncle Bob in the cab because he passed out on the curb.
Yes.
Absolutely.
In a bush.
In a bush, like whatever.
Yes.
We've definitely all heard those stories. Yes. Let's get people home safe.
Yes.
I mean, especially if you want people to enjoy the experience, like, hey, have that Patron. Take that Uber though.
Yes.
And I love what people are doing right now with venues, getting creative with the venue where you don't actually spend as much money for like a big wedding venue. Maybe you go to an arcade, or I've done weddings in movie theaters, roller rink, like just cool things like that. Where you can actually, like with the decor, you can bring it up a notch, but you're not spending all of your money on necessarily like the traditional wedding venue. You're bringing in these little like details and kind of cool things that are just unique to the personality of the couple that's getting married.
So fun. A movie theater and a roller.
Yes.
That's so fun.
Oh my gosh, man. My movie theater wedding was really, really cool. The cakes were amazing. So that's where they spent a lot of their money, right? They're like, okay, we're going to go to this movie theater and rent out a big theater for our wedding ceremony. And then they had this like little restaurant area where they did like kind of the reception type stuff. And their cakes were like all kinds of like vintage horror movie themed, kind of like groom's cake, and then you had
So
the
cool.
bride's cake that was like all Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings, and just like really cool. I mean, just everything that they loved, they just poured it into this so that their guests could experience that. I mean, the things that your guests really want to see is it's a little piece of you, right? They
Right.
want to experience that uniqueness, and
Yes.
like this is what this couple wanted me to enjoy while I was here. This is what they wanted me to pick up about them while I was here. And I think that actually leaves a lot more lasting experience than just being at your traditional, kind of doing your big traditional wedding. I
Yeah.
mean, whatever your budget is, we can work with it. Let's build in and around the personality. Though.
Yes. Yeah.
You gotta have that.
You want your friends to go and say, oh, yeah, that's Brittany. That's Brittany right there. She loves Harry Potter, so she did a Harry
Yes.
Potter cake, or vice versa. You want say you have your significant other has guests that you've never met before. You want them to come
Right.
and learn a little bit more about you
Yeah.
through whatever you've planned.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, learn about you and also just be able to share a little piece of you. That the reality is
Right.
you're never going to get to spend time with every single person at your wedding, like real quality time.
Right.
You would have to be a very small wedding if you really wanted to do that, which some people do. But, but you know, really the reality is that they're still getting that quality time. They're still getting that little piece of you, seeing you in all those little details if you start to pour your money in there instead of in, you know, your more traditional items.
Yeah. I want to go back to you were talking about couples having like live art at their wedding.
Oh, yeah.
Is that I've seen that where if this is what you're talking about, where they are like painting at the wedding, like painting the scene. Is that what you're
Yes.
talking about?
Yeah, there's something that will paint like the scene, the people, and then there's others that will do like kind of start in a corner with like what's happening, right? And then like as things start to happen, right? As the father of the bride makes a speech or your maid of honor, right? Little things get added to
Oh,
it from
so cool.
from what's happening, right?
Yeah.
So maid of honor mentions a story of a crazy night in Vegas, right? And then you're gonna get a little bit of like that in
The Vegas
personality
sign.
of the artwork, which is so
Wow.
cool. Yes. So it actually is like a picture that tells the story of the night, and usually like it's watercolor or something easy that can be done. Not easy. Sorry, easy is it would never be easy for me.
Right.
I'm not an artist. That's no, but so it's not easy, but it's something that you can do kind of on the fly to create this picture of this is what this night
All
looked
these
like
moments.
right? All these little moments, right? The color of the father of the bride's tie, and like the boutonniere when they're dancing, and the song written out below that
Oh,
little.
wow.
It just really kind of cool things like that you can do. So I love that. I've seen that only one time, and it was just amazing. I'm like, okay, how can we get more people should be doing this? It's
Yeah,
really, really
that's
cool.
so neat.
So it's not just a scene like you would get from a picture. It's really moments, and it is about the moments. So
Right.
I like to tell people, if you're gonna be like choosing some sort of live art or something that your guests can interact with as well, choose something that can be unique to like whatever is happening. It's either that where like somebody's painting the scene, the moments, or maybe your guests get to influence the art a little bit, right? They're coming up and they're saying, oh yeah, put me in here like this,
Yeah.
write this quote down, like can you put that on the canvas
Yes.
too? Like have it be a little bit interactive, because
Right.
there are things that you won't necessarily pick up until later on, and you'll have that forever to be able to go and look back on, which is so cool.
I love.
Have you ever seen one of these? It's like some type of fabric, and the artist stands on one side with a laser pointer and shines it around, and then
Yeah.
random guests can come and like grab. I don't know what it is, some type of like pastel kind of crown or something, and they're coloring wherever the artist is pointing their laser pointer, going back and forth, and it ends up being this beautiful portrait.
Yeah.
But all the guests made it.
Yeah. Okay. So I've seen that. Never done it in person.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have seen like videos and stuff of this happening, but I've never been there for like it happening live, and it looks so cool.
Oh, it's fun. And I got to.
Have you done it?
Yeah, I did, because we filmed the grand opening for the Fairmont in Austin.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And it was just this massive event where they just pulled out all the stops, and that was one of them. And that was really cool.
That kind of stuff is so cool.
That's so cool.
Interactive
That's
stuff.
what I was gonna say.
Make it an activity.
I love when the guests can really involve, or when the couple can really involve their guests in an interactive way.
Yeah. So what have you seen that's been like stood out to you?
Ooh, now I'm on the spot. Let's see.
No, I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but
No.
I'm interested.
Well,
I mean,
I love the one that I was talking about earlier, and I've seen this before, but they have those instant cameras.
oh yeah.
And like cute backdrops, and guests can print out those photos, and then they glue it to a book that the couple has and write them a little note.
Yeah.
I think that's really cute. What else? The money dances are always fun.
Oh yeah, I was like, do a money dance.
Yeah.
I did a money dance at my wedding. That paid for all the tips on my honeymoon.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
It was great. Yeah, that's what we did. We were like, let's do a money dance.
Yes.
See how much we get. We got some money. We were like, let's put it away for the honeymoon. And
Yes.
like get a massage, or like, you know, go out and to a nice restaurant or something. We ended up staying at the resort the whole time. You cannot skimp on a honeymoon
Yeah.
destination, because just being in the right place can make all the difference. I love it. And so we ended up just kind of handing out cash as tips to different people. It was like all inclusive, so you just tip
Right.
people as you go. And and it was perfect.
Love it all.
One of the things
inclusive.
about the money dance, like, I think some people have, like, they don't want to do it because they feel like it's tacky or something. But I think that, like, one of the awesome benefits of it is you might feel awkward to go and, like, you want to go dance with the bride because she's your great friend, but
Yeah.
you don't want to, like, steal her away for a moment because you just feel
Yeah.
bad about it or something. But if you do the money dance, then there's, like, opportunities for those things where you actually get to engage with your guest for a little bit more of an intimate moment. So
It's a great point. It's a good excuse to get together. Like, just to have, I mean, there were a handful of people that I danced with during my money dance that I wouldn't have necessarily had that one-on-one time with. I mean, there were over 300, there were 324 people at my wedding. Like, that they came out. I mean, you know, you don't want to feel like people have to buy time with you, but at the same time, it was a good excuse to let anybody who wanted to come
Right.
and dance with me and see
And
my husband and I together.
the way I look at it, and I think the way probably most guests look at it, is they're there and they love you, and they're happy to give you a little something to help you on your honeymoon.
Right.
You know, it's just a little something. It's just a little gift.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Yes, it doesn't have to be anything big. And honestly, you don't really have to pay even. Like, sometimes they just want to have fun.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's okay. We don't have to be like, oh, kind of crazy about it. You don't have to come up with a $50 bill or anything. Like,
no.
it's okay to just
Yeah.
come up and dance with your friend or
Yeah.
whatever. But it's a good way to, if you wanted to give a little something extra, you could. It's an opportunity for you to get one-on-one time. I mean, yeah, everything we said. I don't think it's tacky.
No. Something. No, not at all.
Am I just tacky?
I don't
No.
think it is. I've heard that reservation with
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
before.
Right.
Whenever I ask about, because we always ask, okay, what's all going to happen at your your reception, and as they give us the thing of events, they're like, yeah, we thought about doing a dollar dance, but I just feel like it's kind of tacky. I've heard that before. Everybody's got a different opinion. I don't think it's tacky.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it is either.
It's always, feels uncomfortable asking people for money, but that's not, I think that's how some couples look
yeah.
at it, but that's not how guests see it.
Okay.
You know?
Well, I wouldn't see it that way.
I don't
as a
think it's
guest
tacky.
either. I just like activities. Like, let's get everybody engaged.
Activities?
Yes.
I heard something else.
Oh, what did
Sorry. Sorry, it's just my brain. Okay.
what did you think I said?
Titties.
Oh, I liked it.
I'll cut that out.
No comment.
Sorry. Anyways, What were you saying? You love activities.
Activities.
Yeah.
Yes.
I see,
activities.
like cornhole at a wedding,
Yeah, games are
or for couples that love to play cornhole or whatever, or like doing that at like cocktail hour.
Oh yeah.
This isn't necessarily interactive, but I just popped in my brain. I saw a couple have pictures in a frame for each guest of like a picture of them
Yeah.
with the guest.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So like if you were a guest at my wedding,
That's a
at your
lot.
place, I would put a picture of us.
That is so cute.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of work. I'll be honest.
It is.
Like I'm thinking like, man, that's a lot. And it's
gotta-
one of those things that like kind of adds a little bit of extra money too, right? You got to be careful with
Yes.
stuff like that. But if that's important to you, I would have hated having to find like 324 pictures.
Oh my gosh.
Of me, like, right? Like it, but if you've got like, 50, 75,
Maybe you like
100 people.
start way in advance and just slowly work on it.
Yeah, pouring through pictures from years and years and years ago.
And that is like a cute favor for them to take home too.
It is. Yeah, it is. Yeah, I
that's a
really
lot of
love
work.
That idea.
You're
It's
right.
A lot of work. Yeah, I love that. I love the so at I've seen this done a couple of different times in a couple of different ways. Do you guys do this? So in some wedding albums these days, you'll see like pictures of the tables. Like each table of people, like you'll have like a
I see.
grid of like, so you know who all was there, what they looked like, where
Yeah.
they were sitting. Like for years later, you're like, oh yeah, so and so is there. I
Yeah.
totally forgot about that. Like try to get everybody in.
Yeah.
In the photography, do you guys do that
Yeah.
or see that often?
Yeah, I think like during like especially if it's like a buffet style thing, then
Yeah.
like before they release tables, we try
Yeah,
to
kinda
go around to every table and
get
get a
everybody.
shot of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the guests love it too. It's like, oh yeah.
Yeah, I know,
know,
like they're all like
you're gonna see us
official.
later. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some guests love it. Some guests don't.
Even sometimes we've done like a portrait of the entire like everybody together, and we'll just like stand up on a step ladder and get everybody up on the dance floor together, and we get a photo of literally everybody.
Yeah.
I've seen that a lot. I've seen that as a trick to get people on the dance floor. Like you do that like right before everybody does like a big dance, like they're doing like
Yes.
a cha-cha slide or something, like right afterwards. So you're like, okay, everybody get out on the dance floor. We're gonna take a picture,
Yes.
and it's actually like, okay, it serves as a picture too. Like,
Yes,
don't get
of
me wrong.
course.
Like it's getting everybody in. But
Two
it's
birds, one
also
stone.
Gets everybody on the dance floor.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So smart. So
Yeah.
clever.
Yeah.
You gotta.
I saw the reverse of that where they were trying to get everybody out, and so we did like a drone photo of them. So everybody's outside.
Yeah.
and take a picture from the drone.
Then you start handing out the sparklers, like, okay, now
Yes.
just
Leave.
lined up, we're
Please
doing the
get out
grand
here.
Yes.
exit. Yes.
Have you seen, speaking of sparklers, have you seen any, or can you think of any exits that you've loved that did not involve sparklers?
So yes, so I've seen a couple. You'd be surprised how the pictures turn out when you just do like glow sticks and like just something random like that. Bubbles. I love the bubbles. Everybody's faces look weird blowing bubbles, but it's so cute. I love the
Yeah.
bubbles. And like you can do those little like they're like the confetti petal things. They're really lightweight, so like as you're throwing them, you get this like kind of like really slow trickle down effect.
Yeah.
So I've seen that start to kind of emerge and come back too, because it's a little bit more environmentally friendly. Like they're biodegradable. There's that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it kind of depends. It kind of depends on the bride and groom. I've seen like wands, like
The black
ribbon
fiber optic.
ribbon
Oh,
wands.
that's
ribbon
cute.
wands. Like everybody's like, it's like
I love that.
it really depends. I think sparklers are gorgeous. I think they
Yeah.
make really cool pictures.
They do. Unfortunately.
Everybody's doing that. Yeah. Like,
It's the only thing that I don't like about it is from a videographer, photographer point of view is running through the tunnel of sparklers backwards, and
Yes.
it's the end of the night and guests have been drinking, and the fear of getting my hair caught on fire.
so do they not do your event planners not do the tips beforehand for everybody on the sparkler?
Oh, they do, but everyone's like rowdy and drunk at that point, and they're loud and who's to say, especially the drunk people,
No,
they're not going to
right.
listen.
You're so right. So I always make a point to be very like, this is the time of the night when I get like real strict.
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys, we're not setting anybody on fire. That would be a terrible end of the night.
Mm-hmm.
It's the opposite of what we want. Like, if the photographer is not in front of you, like, your sparkler should be way up in the air.
Yeah.
Right. And if the bride and groom are in front of you, like, it should be way up in the air.
Yeah.
Right. Like, it's just, you got to be really, drunk people often, and fire often don't mix.
No.
Yeah.
Or even if there's like children there, and seeing the children run around with sparklers.
Children. I usually don't. I don't advise that.
You don't. But there's always the adult that's like, here you go.
You're so right. But what? Yeah. But why? I'm like, I never understand.
They're not thinking.
They're just
yeah.
drunk, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. Like, I didn't. Yeah. I mean, my parents would totally give my 4-year-old a giant sparkler.
Right? Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, the person that's trying to be the cool grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle.
Yeah. As I'm thinking about it. Yeah. Luckily, I haven't had a lot of really bad sparkler incidents, at least not at weddings. In my personal life, we've almost burnt down the lake house a couple of times on 4th of July. But yeah, so I have some personal experience in that, but not so much with weddings, luckily. People tend to, I'm like over there, like, I'm general about this thing. Anytime we were dealing with explosives and like a lot of hairspray,
right? Yeah,
it's not it's
doesn't
not
mix.
not a good mix.
Doesn't mix. Yeah. Well, thankfully you haven't had any horror stories yet.
Not on the fire side. No. Yeah, no, I did have one time. So my first wedding that I actually ever worked at by myself, we did have like a little bit of it, not as much of an incident, but I had to go pick up the cake in my Explorer, my Ford Explorer. This is not a refrigerated vehicle. This is also not a vehicle designed to hold like cakes or anything. So it was fine. We figured it out. But I'm driving like 35 miles an hour, back from the cake shop. It was in Tyler, Texas. So I'm like, and I had to drive an hour out to the venue where the venue was, just outside of Tyler. At that like 35 miles an hour, I'm like sitting here with this cake and I'm dying. This is my first wedding by myself without Blake. Took the training wheels off and I was like head first into it. By the time we got there, this venue had like this kind of dirt road, like kind of rocky, like dirt,
Tyler,
gravel, road going down to like where you would actually load things into the kitchen. And I had gotten almost all the way there with that cake. It was like totally perfect, still 35 miles an hour the whole time on these back roads in Tyler. And
air conditioner blasting.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
I'm like freezing. Blasting AC.
Yeah.
And like right as I was getting up to the venue, there's like this dip and like this little creek that goes underneath this grid. And the middle, it was a 4-tiered cake, and one of the middle top tiers got a little bit wonky. And I like opened back, I was like, oh my gosh, you don't know until you open the back of the car. So I like opened back the car and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like sweating. The caterer from the venue comes out and she's like, don't worry, it's okay. We got this. I've got some cream in the back. We're gonna make this work.
Yeah.
Like, oh, thank God, because I was thinking, okay, it's my first wedding by myself.
Yeah.
Had no idea I was gonna be picking up a cake. No idea.
Did you have to do that?
So I showed up, and on this one I had called before, and I was like, hey, how much stuff? Yeah, it was a day of, so that week we start working with them. I was like, hey, let me tell me about your ceremony, because we coordinate the whole ceremony. Tell me a little bit about your decorations. What are you gonna have for us to set up? I need to know how many assistants that I need to bring. They were like, oh, no, it's really not that big of a deal. We don't have that much stuff. And I was like, okay, awesome. This might be a good training opportunity for our new assistant. So it's me, first wedding by myself, our assistant, first ever wedding.
Oh no.
We get there and we're there for about an hour and we're like, okay, well, at least they don't have a lot of stuff. And they were late. They were just running late. least they don't have a lot of stuff. I'm sitting there and 2 trailers pull up. A truck pulling a trailer of the wedding stuff, like the wedding decor, and another truck pulling a trailer for carnival. The carnival. They did not tell me they were having an after party that was a carnival. And they literally had like big carnival games and like a giant projector screen and stuff to set up for a carnival. I'm like, okay, this would have taken me at least 4 or 5 people to get everything done. Certainly not just me and one assistant. So I'm like, okay, it's okay. It's fine. And I'm like, okay, we're going to start working on this. I'm working, me and my brand new assistant, working like crazy, just to try to get everything ready, everything situated, just with the decor and the wedding stuff. We were like, listen, somebody else is going to have to do this carnival. I don't think we are going to be able to get everything done. You're going to have to get the big guys to get the equipment also. Like, it's like big carnival games. And we're like, okay, get the guys to help with that. We're going to do all the ceremony stuff so you guys can focus on the carnival and knock that out. And so about halfway through the day, I'm like looking at my timeline that I made, and I went and realized I had actually known this, but I was like, I got to ask about the cake because I think the caterers are doing it. The caterers at the venue were doing it. Mm-hmm. But I just wanted to make sure because I didn't know when it was getting set up and we needed to put the cake table decorations out still. Mm-hmm. So I went over to the mother of the bride and I was like, hey, so I noticed that I don't have a cake time on here. Do you know when they're bringing the cake? And she was like, oh, we don't have anybody bringing it. And I was like, what do you mean? Is it the venue that's doing the cake? Are they setting everything up? And she was like, no, we have a cake shop in Tyler that is making the cake. And I was like, okay, so is somebody picking it up on their way here when it, and she was like, well, I was sort of hoping to talk to you about that. Would you be able to go get the cake? And that's how I ended up going to get the cake in the first place. I had no idea. But they were so grateful. They were like, we could not have done any of this without you.
So the cake made it there fine.
Cake made it there
a little wonky, but
wonky. The middle, one of the middle tiers, and they had included, the cake shop did like most of the structure, but not all of it. Like, thank the Lord that there was actually a catering company at this venue who was working with the venue, or like we would have been, I mean, me and my first time assistant would have been up there with gloves, like trying to basically hold this thing, because it was one of those where it just seemed like they really needed a coordinator, probably a planner, like months ago, to help with all of this stuff. But it was, that was a lot of fun.
A carnival, though.
Carnival was cool.
So cool.
Carnival was so cool. They had like really cool carnival games. I mean, like kind of your traditional like balloons with the darts and like ring toss and stuff like that. And then they had, I can't remember what movie it was, but they had like kind of a movie playing in the background too on the big screen. And they had just like a cotton candy machine and like just little things like that where everybody just went out back. And they had big, like, tin buckets, like, of beer. And so the after party was, like, it just moved out to this back lawn of the venue. Fun. And they did this really cool carnival thing. I mean, I think that is really cool. After parties. Your decision on whether or not to do an after party is a big deal. Yeah. And whether or not you want that. A lot of people do informal stuff these days because it's a little bit more cost effective. But man, I've seen a lot of really cool like either after parties or transitions, like your wedding kind of transitions to a certain time, after grandma and your great aunts and everybody go to bed. We'll bring out the burger cart. Yes. We'll bring out the pizzas. Yes. And the chicken fingers and the snacks. We'll do popcorn bar, or I've seen ice cream bars, and transition into kind of like club mode. The lights get a little different. Yes. You bring out the glow sticks. Right. The just kind of that party mode. Yes. And for them it was this carnival, but I've seen it done really if you don't want to have to pay for extra venue space, or you just want like a little change. I mean, you can change the lighting, change up the music a little bit, bring out a fun snack,
change the dress.
Yeah, change the dress. Yeah. So I see Burger Cart too. So my wedding in Santa Fe, they are doing this sort of after hours transition, and they're doing a Burger Cart. And so Occasions actually does some graphic design. So we have a
Cool.
graphic designer and a marketing professional on staff who actually can design anything you want for you. And so we're doing these like custom little burger wrappers, and they'll do like little like In-N-Out style sliders.
Cute.
And it has like their like couple name, which is Antana, and little cactuses because they're in Santa Fe. It's like kind of Southwest themed, like the In-N-Out wrappers with the palm trees, but it's
yes.
like little green cactuses instead. It's so cute.
That's so cute.
It's so cute. And so it just kind of transitions into this period of the night that's a little bit more like, modern and neon, and the music transitions and the lighting transitions. We get a little bit more nighttime into it. And I think that's really the way to do it.
Yeah, it's time to celebrate.
Yeah, time to celebrate. I mean, you give, you do your kind of traditional stuff, get your garter toss and your bouquet toss out of the way if you are doing that traditional kind of stuff. They are not. But they're going to do all the cake stuff still. So they're going to get that all the way in the dances, and then kind of transition at a certain point into party mode. And that's when it gets real crazy. That's when you have to send people home. Yeah. That's when that Uber QR code really comes in.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, for the couple, you've worked all this time, spent all this money and anticipation for this. It's time to let loose and party and celebrate. We're married. We did it.
Yeah. If you're not like dead tired at the end of your wedding day, you're doing something wrong.
I know. That's why I'm like, whenever I hear about couples having an after party, I'm just like, oh, how?
A during after party is kind of my style.
Yeah. Sure.
Like we're still ending at a reasonable hour for me to go to bed, but it still kind of transitions the party into a different mode.
More power to them if they can. But
I'm not in that stage of life anymore. I'm like, this is gonna have to send one of the younger assistants out to like, okay, now you help with the after party because Mama's got to go home and go to bed. But I do think, I mean, whatever their style is, it really just depends on the bride and groom, and it's a lot of fun to do. But it's a whole nother thing. And the dress, dress comes off, and it's like I've seen a lot of like pantsuit kind of situations. I love that, where you just get to be a little bit more comfortable around the rest of your guests. I mean, the bridesmaids will sometimes be wearing like their matching like sneakers under their dresses at that point, like really getting into the spirit of just the celebration. Yes. Which is cool.
This is like the fourth time I've talked about this wedding today, but same wedding I was talking about earlier. I thought this was a really neat idea and also budget friendly. The bride, her dress at the start of the day and the ceremony and everything looked like it was one piece. And then she took off her sash for their reception, and it was like a two-piece, and it was so cute, and it's like almost like a second dress, but like more like a party mode. And
I love that. I love the transitional dresses. I think it's so cool. I mean, you can get like, I mean, if you wanted to just get like a separates piece and get, I mean, I've seen them not be very expensive at all. You can get like a couple $100. You can get like a big like gown style with the train and everything. And then you just take that off. I will tell you, I had this wedding dress on for my wedding that was like gorgeous, beaded all the way down. I had never worn it for multiple hours before my wedding. Oh no. You don't realize how heavy those things are. Yeah. Go minimal on the dress. That's another place where you can potentially save a little bit of money if it's not super important to you. I've seen a lot of brides go vintage or used on their dresses or even rent their dresses. Like if it's not important to you to have something that you're handing down, and which a lot of people, that's important to them, and that's okay. But that's another place where you can save a little bit of money and potentially put that right back into the budget. I always like to just like, really it's up to them. I like to advise that if they're spending a ton of money on the groom wear, to actually buy it. Like a lot of grooms are getting really particular about what they're wearing these days, and I'm like, buy it, man. So you don't have to worry about, returning something that you love, but also you get something that you're potentially going to be wearing
Right.
for the rest of your life,
Right.
or at least for a couple of years. I mean, not everybody's as in shape after they have kids to get back into their wedding suit. My husband just got back into his actually recently,
Nice.
but we bought his, and I think that that's a good piece of advice too. If it's something that's really important to the groom, you got to think about that as well. People don't think about that as often.
Well, for the groom, for the bride, it's like you're spending all this money on a dress that you will wear one day. You will. But for the groom, he can wear his again.
Yes.
And I've seen
Totally.
grooms that have very obviously I don't know if I should say this. That you can tell they've rented it because it doesn't fit them well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
since you can wear it again, just go ahead and buy it and tailor it to you. Like, that's a good investment.
It is a good investment.
Yeah.
It is a good investment. And, it's also something special for the groom, too. Like, it's another thing where I've said this a lot. There's a lot of trend around right now, throwing out that rule book, spending your money where you really want to spend your money and not in other places. And I think that's one. Like, we gotta give our grooms some love.
Yeah, it's their day too.
It's their day too.
Yeah.
Right. Like, let's get them something that they're going to be able to either pass down or, wear for the rest of their life potentially, or keep for the rest of their life. And I think that's really important too. So, you have a lot of grooms that are like, I'm kind of hands off, which is totally fine. But, if you want to be involved, don't feel like it's taboo. Don't feel like it's weird.
Yeah.
Like, get your cool suit.
No, I love to see a groom that's involved.
Yeah, get your personality in there.
Yeah.
This burger cart idea that I was talking about, 100% the groom's idea.
Love it.
He was like, "Oh, you know what? I really like burgers." I was like, "Let's get you some burgers, man." He was like, "Well, it would be like the wedding food if I had my way about it." And I was like, "We can do that.
Yeah.
You can do that. Like, we'll figure that out for you. Let's get it
Yes.
done." And so it was funny because that day that I met with him, he was wearing socks with burgers on them. It was kind of just fortuitous.
You should wear those on the wedding day.
I know. I think that would be freaking awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? This is like one of those artistic guys too that I also recommended for him. He should buy his own style as well.
Yeah.
Because it's like he's very unique. That couple is very unique. I can't wait to see how their wedding turns out. I mean, we're going to talk about trends a little bit. I will say, everybody's talking about color. There's kind of two dueling trends around color right now. There's either like kind of the big, bold, unusual, unique kind of stuff. And I'm also seeing a lot of this like monochrome too.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, and it's more difficult than you think.
Really.
But yeah, well, I mean, if you think about monochrome, everything has to be within that same family, right? And so you're ordering swatches of every single thing. You got to go pick up swatches from your rentals, or bridesmaids' dresses, all of the little details. Flowers can sometimes vary. So if your flowers are part of that monochrome look, you've got to be really specific with your florist, because if a, mauve pink turns into a dusty rose, it's not looking the same.
Right.
It's a totally different wedding now.
Yeah.
So that's one trend that I actually love. I think it's gorgeous in a photo, but it's more difficult to continue.
Makes your job a lot harder.
Yes, and this couple is going in the opposite direction. I mean, they are just way out there with color. She's an artist. He's just like so unique with his styling as well, and so they're like leaning in the exact opposite direction. They're like, nothing has to really match. We want a mix of vintage and modern, and I just love it.
Yeah.
I love that these days.
Yeah. That's so
It's
cool.
really cool. Makes a statement.
So unique.
That's what you really want. You want people to walk away with something.
Yeah.
You don't really
Remember.
remember. We're out with the cookie cutter weddings that we used to do. I mean, even when I was planning my wedding, it was still a little bit like that. And now we're done with that.
Yeah.
We're done with that. And I love it.
Make your stamp on it.
People should make their stamp, and they should take that time to
Own it.
That's it. That's another thing that I really encourage our couples to do. And it's a trend that's been happening for, I would say, about the last 10 years, but I really push this. Take a second. You've spent all this time to plan this out. take a second for yourselves
Yeah.
together to look at everything. Go and look at the reception before everybody gets in there. Go and look at your venue space after everything's been set up.
Yeah.
Go and look at all those details. Look at the tables, like everything.
Touch
Yes,
things.
touch the stuff.
Yeah.
Like see it before, all these people are in there and they're like throwing their jackets and all their crap on the table. Like go and see that. Make that time for you to really enjoy what you've created.
Yeah.
And take the time to be together.
Yeah.
Take the time. If you want to do, first look is something people have been doing for years, but I love the private meal.
Yes.
So cool.
Yes.
Just have some time. Talk about what just happened. Like, man, this is amazing.
Yes.
Enjoy being with that person one-on-one.
Yes.
With your person one-on-one. And enjoy a great meal. Eat.
Yeah. Don't have everyone staring at you, watching you eat, or coming up to you and interrupting your meal.
That's what happens more often
Yeah.
than not. I'm running interference like all the time with, they've got to eat, right? This has been a long day already.
Yes.
You don't really realize it unless you're doing it. You're like, man, I've been going since like 6 a.m., especially if you're on the bride's side, right? Because
Yes.
makeup, hair, photography, everything starts so early. So if you don't eat, you're not going to be able to last to the end. And that's
Right.
the last thing.
Especially if you're drinking.
Especially if you're drinking. Yeah, listen. It has never been truer to do like one drink, one glass of water, one drink, one
Yes.
glass of water. Because you're doing a lot. You're getting dehydrated.
Yeah.
Do it.
Assign your best man, your maid of honor, to make sure that you're doing that.
Yes. Yeah. So I like the private meal for that because you definitely eat. And you get a chance to just be one-on-one and breathe a little bit. And what I've heard is, that's what you really remember is like those moments with your spouse.
Yeah.
Right? Like those first moments where you get to be a couple together are so important. So as much as we can, we try to create that. Even if they don't necessarily, we will try to create that. We will push to do something like that because I do think that it's important to get in there and really enjoy the day. I mean, weddings are a big deal. You spend a lot of money, you spend a lot of time. So enjoy it with your spouse.
It's the best advice.
And enjoy it afterwards. The pictures,
Mm-hmm.
the videography, man. Yeah.
Watch it every day. Why not?
10 years later, you will thank yourself for making that decision.
Yeah.
Really.
Absolutely. That's the best advice.
Thank you.
I mean, of course I'm biased, but I also mean
serving a little bit, but yeah.
I also mean what you said about taking the time to enjoy the day.
time,
Yeah. Yeah.
So important.
Just taking those little snapshots.
Yes, I love that. Another Pam and Jim reference.
Yep. I'm like, how many office reference, or can I make an office reference everything? Will that be like my little
That'll
golden egg, my little nugget?
right. I mean, it's not a bad nugget. These days, doesn't everybody watch The Office?
He should.
Or they have watched The Office?
Some people don't. I don't know. I'm not friends with those people.
That can't be right.
Just
Yeah,
kidding.
that can't be right. That can't be right. I don't believe that.
Yeah, it apparently does. They're crazy. Okay, we covered a lot, like a lot of really good stuff.
I know.
Thank you.
Man, thank you so much for having me on.
No, of
Really
course.
appreciate talking about this stuff
I appreciate you.
and just getting the chance to talk.
Yeah, you're full of great information. And yeah. I mean, I feel like I say this every time, but I truly mean it. Like we could keep talking. Jordan had to be like, time,
Oh, yeah. I could keep going for hours. I love it. I mean, seriously, give me a call. I just want to help people in this who are doing this because I've been there. Oh my gosh, I have so been there. If you're getting overwhelmed, talk to somebody about it. Call somebody. We might not be the best fit for you, but somebody out there is going to have some advice that you can use.
It's clear that you're passionate about it and that you want to help people. And those are two key ingredients to succeeding and being great at this.
Being fulfilled.
Yes.
Love it.
Yes.
I love it.
So do you go ahead and shout out all your socials, how people can find you?
Yeah, I mean, really just on anything, look up OEDTX. OEDTX.com is our website. Check us out on Wedding Wire. It's Occasions, Event, and Design. Texas. We serve the Texas area as if it's not a huge state. DFW, we'll go to Austin, we'll go to East Texas, West Texas. We really will go to Oklahoma, even New Mexico. I did a wedding in Montana once. Gorgeous. It's a long ways away, y'all,
That's
but we will do
awesome.
anything for you. Give us a call. Honestly, like I said, Blake, myself, our partners, weddings, events are in our veins, so let us make your occasion amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great. Well, thank you again so much for coming on. Be sure to follow Ladybird Studios on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. If you have any questions or future topics you want us to cover, email info@ladybirdstudios.com. Or if you want to come be a guest, we'd love to have you.
It's really fun. I recommend it.
Well, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next time.
Thanks.